Hi, lovely. It's me, Rogue, your favorite obsessed drag queen. So, the Slumber Party Massacre. A 1982 slasher movie written by Rita Mae Brown and directed by Amy Holden Jones. I almost got those two confused. It follows the story of a group of teenage girls who gather for the titular slumber party, only to realize they're being pursued by a power drill wielding madman. It may seem like an ordinary slasher movie at first, but this movie is actually meant to be a parody of the slasher subgenre. It's unique for that and the fact that it was one of the very few horror movies, even till today, to be written and directed by women exclusively. Now, I may have oversold this movie a little bit in my last video. I did a monthly recap for April during which I watched this movie. While I was trying to think about how I would best describe this movie or what I like or dislike about this movie, I threw out the term masterpiece, and that's far from the truth. This movie definitely has a lot of technical issues. The acting is nothing special. Cinematography could use a bit of work. The score is actually quite good. I like the score. And the FX, terrible. Absolutely awful. But I do think this movie is special for a few other reasons. So let's start with the story of how this movie came to be, okay? It's super interesting. Trust me, you're going to love it. So there was this lady called Rita Mae Brown, a proud lesbian and outspoken feminist, who had written a script called Don't Open the Door. That script was intended to be a parody of earlier slasher movies. So you're thinking like Halloween era, that like the very first Halloween, that kind of era. She wrote that script, and it eventually ended up on the desk of a dude called Roger Corman, who's like this renowned producer, director, exploitative filmmaker, some would say. So he gets a hold of May's script, and he is eventually contacted by a lady called Amy Holden Jones, who is an editor looking to move into directing. She goes to Corman because she figures, hey, this dude might be able to give me a shot. You know, he might be able to give me my first feature. He decides to give her an opportunity. He allows her to pick from kind of a few scripts that he has in the stockpile. She eventually chooses Don't Open the Door because it appeals to her for several reasons. You know, it has, I think the structure of how it was scripted is what appealed to her most. It had a prologue scene, a dialogue scene, and an action scene. So she was like, yeah, I can work with this. I got this. Yeah, no worries. I'm doing it. Corman ends up liking the short that Jones produced so much that he does indeed agree to finance a full feature for her. But it comes with the condition that it's a full-blown slasher movie. It's Don't Open the Door, you know, the script that was meant to be a parody. It's that script turned into a full-blown slasher movie. Not really getting the whole satirical take it was going for, I guess. He wants that, and he also wants a movie with a lot of nudity. He thinks that for some reason you need a lot of nudity to sell a movie, which, you know, given the time, he wasn't wrong, but it's just so gross that that's what people thought needed to be done in order to get butts and seats. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I mean, really, who would possibly use exploitative nudity to get butts and seats and views and stuff? So with that offer on the table, it ended up being a very difficult decision for Jones to make. Not only did she not really want to direct like a slasher or a horror, really, she was kind of hoping to get into a different genre. She also had a very, very tempting job offer on the table from Steven Spielberg to direct E.T. The lady did well for herself as an editor, okay? She did very well for herself. So, you know, she has that amazing offer on the table, and she kind of has to weigh up the options. She thinks, you know, if I direct this one feature for Corman, it could lead to better things. I could get into a different genre, a better genre, and live my dream. I can get better job offers down the road. This might be my one entrance into the industry as a director. So she eventually decides to take Corman's offer, but it was a calculated decision that did not pay off on her part. Let's just say that the years after that weren't necessarily kind to Jones's career. I do think Jones can still hold her head up high with this movie because at the end of the day, being tasked with making a full-blown slasher movie, you know, a movie with emphasis on sex and violence, it's incredible because Jones managed to still deliver a movie that upheld the core of what Rita Mae Brown had in her original script, which was a movie with feminist undertones that was a satirical take on the slasher genre. She managed to make exactly that while also convincing people it was an actual slasher, which is just... Talking about the actual movie itself then, the final product we got, before I continue, I will be spoiling this movie, so don't say I didn't warn you, okay? Watch at your own risk. So right out the gate, this movie literally starts with them throwing gender norms. La la la, I cannot speak anymore. Right out the gate, this movie starts with them throwing gender norms in the trash, quite literally, There's a scene where the main girl, Trish, goes around her childhood bedroom and she's kind of picking up all her little knickknacks. When she goes downstairs to say goodbye to her parents, or rather after she says goodbye to them, she dunks the childhood toys in the trash can and you see the camera just linger on the trash as she walks to school. Poking up out of the can, then you have the Barbie doll, which is like, it's the traditional ideals of beauty and what the ideal woman is, and yada yada yada. The imagery here can't be denied. This is what the movie wants you to think. It's just like, listen, if you came here for damsels in distress, bitch, no, we're throwing that shit right in the dumpster, okay? We have ladies then cast in traditionally masculine roles. We have the phone repair lady at the start. We have the contractor then later in the movie. And then I think this one might be a bit of a stretch, but we also have the PE teacher who, like, could you argue that that's a traditionally masculine role? Maybe. Then there's the main group of girls themselves. Like, they're athletes through and through. I think that's a clever subversion of like the usual slasher trope. I feel like it's a thing you'd see in slasher movies and like horror a lot. I feel it's always the girls going to see the guys play football. But here it's literally the two mouth-breathing bozos going to see the ladies play some basketball, which I really like. It's not just like for shits and giggles as well. Them being athletes is a pivotal point in the story. The movie wants you to know that these are strong ladies. Like, the boys even freely admit that the girls could beat them up, which I think is just amazing. Something that really stands out about this movie as well is its approach to female sexuality. In 1982, you wouldn't necessarily have great representation of that, let me tell you. But here, the girls are making lighthearted jokes about the sexuality. There's like orgy jokes thrown around. There's the scene later with Valerie and Courtney where Courtney finds Valerie's Playgirl magazine with Sylvester Stallone on the cover because apparently he's a dish. They make a light nod to female masturbation there, which is, in the year of our Lord, 1982, unheard of. So I like that this is painting just like a healthy picture of female sexuality in general, but I love how the movie utilizes it to serve in stark contrast to what is actually the big bad of the movie. Russ Thorne is the embodiment of unwanted male attention and the male gaze. He spends the majority of the movie as like a silent antagonist, eventually breaking his silence, delivering one of the creepiest lines ever. You're pretty. All of you are very pretty. I love you. Takes a lot of love for a person to do this. You know you want it. Man, this really got under my skin, as you can probably tell, because it just does such a good job of driving home how creepy male attention can be. Like, the ladies are just existing and they attract the attention of this unbelievable psychopath. And I think I find it so scary because it's not that far removed from reality, sweetie, okay? That kind of shit happens all the time. And it's really bad to say, but in 1982, this message kind of fell on deaf ears. I guess they just kind of wrote it off because it was, it's a slasher movie, stupid blood and violence. But this movie had a powerful message that not a lot of people heeded. In fact, the movie came out to kind of tepid, mixed reviews, most comparing it as just a Halloween clone, but you maybe had one or two outlets that really saw what this movie was trying to convey. So I guess to sum up, I like this movie in spite of its technical issues. It uses its portrayal of strong female characters to shed a light on the horrors of unwanted male attention, and it does all that while upholding the core of what Rita Mae Brown tried to communicate in her original script. If you're looking for an alternative take of the slasher subgenre, then I would definitely recommend this movie in a heartbeat. But if you're looking for just a run-of-the-mill slasher, literally just with emphasis on sex and violence, sweetie, maybe this movie ain't for you. So I never actually wrote a conclusion for this video, and as a result, I have no idea how to sign off. So I guess if you want to see more horror discussion and more drag, be sure to subscribe. If you liked my cute jammies, be sure to give a thumbs up. And yeah, until then, you can follow me on all my socials. I'll have them linked down below. And yeah, I can't wait for the next video. I'll see you there. Bye. That was terrible. This is a terrible video. I don't know why anyone's here. I don't even know if this is okay for YouTube. We'll see. This isn't going to stay up, is it?